Awesome.
Um,
Awesome.
hopefully no technical difficulties as we go forward, but we'll figure it out. Obviously, the first one, and
Yeah, it's all good, bro. It's all good, man. We family. We family.
cool,
So,
cool, cool. We'll go ahead and get started. So, welcome to
okay.
the first episode of Between Two Tittles. With myself, Brent Tittle, my wife, co-host Sarah Tittle, and we're joined today by Sherman Barnes, a 20-year logistician, and he's a master at all that it comes to it. And Sherman, I'm gonna give you a little chance here to intro yourself and give a little bit of your background before we begin.
First of all, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's an honor being your first guest. Number one, number two, I love the name Between Two Tittles. I'm just really curious how you all came up with that name. That's pretty cool. Sarah, you're creative, so I'm assuming you came up with it, but maybe. Oh, Brent. Okay, nice. But no. So I've been in the industry for 20 years. I've known the Tittles for several years when I was with Schneider National, but before that, I've worked at C.H. Robinson Company. I've worked at UPS, been at Motor Express. So I've been around the block a few times for the past 20 years and still in the business and still enjoying it.
Yeah, we came up with it, not to steal too much from Zach Galifianakis, but I always loved watching his Between Two Ferns, and I was
Ah,
like, well,
yeah.
how could we
I
how could
love
we
it.
make a
Yeah.
podcast? And then I just thought of our last name and all the uh things that you can allude to with it, right? And so a tittle actually means the dot over the I. So if you look at our logo, it has two dots over the I, so there's two
Ah.
tittles. And so that's the literal meaning, but everyone can think what they like. It's obviously a guess between us two, so that's great. But that's kind of how I came up with the name. And Sarah, took a little bit, but we came to an agreement here. And so it was a good name.
We juggled a few names. I was kind of leaning toward Tittle Talks, but
I like it.
between two tittles is growing on me, So I went with the more creative of the Tittle duo. So I went with his good judgment there.
Yeah, I like it. I love it. I love it.
Cool. We're gonna roll into some questions here for you, and then we're gonna obviously talk about the market and some of the recent developments here, especially with the last 2 days. The leaked memo, obviously, I don't know if you've seen that yet, talking about cracking down on chameleon carriers. We'll get to that a little later. But Sarah, why don't you launch us off?
Perfect. So I guess first question being for you, Sherman. I always like to phrase it two ways when I ask people this is how did you choose the transportation industry or how did it choose you?
So it chose me, like most of us. Um, you don't plan on really getting into it. So going back a little bit, my dad was a shipping and receiving supervisor my entire life growing up. He worked for like Levi Strauss, a company called My Neck Yates, which I don't even know if it's still in business. He worked at Yellow Roadway at the time, YRC for a bit too. So I always was in and out of docks and whatnot. My parents would run me, my mom would run me by there to say, drop dad's lunch off or something like that. And while I was in college, I actually ended up working during the summers, with my dad, loading trucks, driving the forklift, picking orders, unloading the trucks, the whole nine. So I still at the time didn't want to get in transportation. But true story, I moved to, when I graduated college, I moved to Atlanta. My best friend, I'm from Mississippi. Best friend from Mississippi had moved to Atlanta already, and he had an apartment with another roommate, so I couldn't stay there long term. But he said, "Hey, you can sleep on my couch. I'll give you a couple of months or whatever to get going if you pay us a third of the rent." And the first job, I had interviews set up, but I did not have a job. And one of the first job interviews I had was with C.H. Robinson, and that's who hired me first. That's the I had $350 and my best friend said I could sleep with his couch. And the first people that said yes was C.H. Robinson. So it's serendipity, I guess.
I feel like we all join this industry hungry.
Yeah.
I think we all kind of join it hungry. Do you think having kind of that hands-on experience in the beginning really helped you kind of your career flourish and get a real respect for kind of being hands-on in the beginning of the process?
At the time, I would have said no because it was completely different. Like, at C.H. Robinson, you're just, two phones, two screens, you're just hammering it out. I didn't really see it at the time, but I did know some of the basic lingo. I had loaded trucks before, unloaded them, so I understood what we were shipping. So that was a little bit interesting, but uh, I had a little bit of the lingo. But one thing that I will say, the recruiter that recruited me when I first was interviewing SCH and she was trying to explain it, she called it like a stock brokerage. She said, have you ever seen movies like Wall Street or whatever? And I was like, sure. And she said, well, yeah, it's a bunch of desks and it's people yelling a little bit. I mean, not maybe as much, but they're yelling and hey, I got an order here or whatever. She mentioned it like stock brokerage. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. It's freight brokerage. And I felt that was a really good way um, to outline what it was. So when I came in, that was completely different than working in a warehouse. So I'll say yes, but not it didn't give me a huge edge.
A lot of
It's nothing
people.
like throwing in and when you get in there and it's loud. And at the time, when I started, this was 2005. So, the level of profanity was extremities level higher than probably it is now, and a lot of stuff that happened. But I wouldn't change it for anything. And it was a great experience, a great training ground because it's really like a sink or swim, live or die situation. And if you make it, fine. If you don't, hey, you're a cool guy. That's great, but sorry, this didn't work out. And I was able to thrive in that environment. And before that, I didn't know that I could.
All the Chicago guys I know always reminded me and always shared that it reminded them of Boiler Room. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie before,
Of
but
course, of
that's
course. Oh yeah,
that's
oh
that's
yeah,
kind of like what my first taste was as well. It's kind of like you've gotta sell and you've got to be right on top of it and you've got to be moving with your metrics on the phone, right? And if you're not
yep,
really picking up the phone and making a difference, they're gonna find out real quick.
yeah,
It's really
yeah.
funny where you talked about where you started in the industry because I graduated UNT with an operations supply chain management degree, and I thought
Mm,
I was going to start in the warehouse. And so you talk about the industry choosing you, and thankfully I was really lucky at UNT, our career center. They had a full week of interviews where they would bring employers in, and students could sign up for however many interviews they wanted. And I had a couple of callbacks that would have been in that industry. And I think the closest I would have been in a warehouse or it was a supply chain leadership program. And I was like, oh, that sounds really good. That'll get me out, on the right foot and everything like that. But then they said, oh, but you have to move into the middle of Kansas. It's a rotational program. You're going to be there for about 6 months. Then you could go anywhere in the country. And I was like,
yeah, yeah,
I don't know about that." And
yeah,
so
yeah,
it ended up that, I wanted to stay around my family who is around in Dallas. And so I
yeah,
ended up in logistics sales and I haven't left. So it's just funny how you say that of, it's not what I was expecting and not necessarily the experience or education you had necessarily prepared you for that. Because a lot of
yeah,
people, when I came into that new hire class, they heard my degree because everybody knows in logistics, if you've been in it long enough, those degrees can be anywhere from arts to finance to
yeah,
diversified studies. And then they looked at me
yeah,
and they're like, oh, you know everything. I'm like, no, y'all don't realize like maybe I know what an LTL is.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
know the basics. So it's just really funny how you say that.
I feel like
yeah.
once you know about pallets, you always know about pallets, and you're always going to be talking about it. Like the freight life chose you. Like as soon as you get into it, you're never out of it, right? I think everything
Yeah.
just pulls us into it.
And big shout out to UNT too, the supply chain program that they have. Brian's doing great work over there, man. Big shout out to it. It's a great program. And those things weren't really around in '05 when I started. Um, Supply chain and like it wasn't people were like, what do you do again? We were married 10 years before my wife could like fully articulate, what I do for a living. So I'm just so glad to see so many young people and so much attention being brought to supply chain. So again, just wanted to give a shout out to that UNT crew. They're doing a great job.
Number 4 on the Gartner ranking, still trying to
It's
chase
amazing.
those hogs.
It's
Still
amazing.
trying to
Woo
chase
pig,
those hogs.
woo pig.
Well, awesome. So I guess my next question for you, Sherman, is throughout your career, what has been the most defining moment for you?
Hmm. The most defining. For me, becoming, I can go early career, I can go later career. My first thought is later career. When I started leading people, I didn't know that I'm good at choosing talent. Um, I did it, and one of the most rewarding is hiring people and then seeing them grow and develop and go on to become leaders themselves. So some people have climbed the corporate ladder even higher than I did. Um, and that doesn't make me mad. That makes me proud, because I just am able to identify like good people that are talented. And so what am I looking for? Like I'm looking for the drive. I'm looking for people with initiative. I'm looking for people that are resourceful. It doesn't matter where you came from socioeconomically, but I like to see a little bit of pain maybe in the past. Where's your drive come from? Sometimes it's I'm proving my dad wrong. He said I couldn't do this, or the teacher that said I couldn't do that, or I grew up and got bullied. Usually, I can see that in a person, and I know they're gonna run through a brick wall and learn whatever they got to learn, listen to whatever podcast they got to listen to, read whatever book, interview whoever they got to interview to get it done. And so I just kind of find people like that. And so one of the most rewarding things, again, to answer your question, is seeing people surpass what I've been able to achieve. That's really, really fun.
One thing that you did taught me, I think this was probably 8 or 9 years ago, and it's good for everyone listening as they set their goals for next year, is writing down your 5 goals you want to accomplish professionally, and then 5 you want to accomplish personally,
Personally,
and
correct.
then
Yep.
that one person you're going to bring along with you.
Hmm.
Um, I look back at those note cards, and there are people that I saw get promotions from, writing those names down. Who am I going to bring along with me? And so that was a really lasting impact for myself, as I kind of grew my own tree and created my own branches off my own tree. So that's something that's really stuck with me.
Yeah, I know you have, man. I've seen both of you progress, and really excited in this new podcast. I mean, that's great. It's a great idea, a great name. So I'm really excited for what you guys are doing.
Well, and I think what people underestimate sometimes is how those connections keep going throughout the years. Like even when Brent made this announcement, there were some people that I didn't even think remembered us, or me at least.
Hmm.
I don't
Hmm.
remember. Brent is a very person that is easy to remember, but even for us, it's one of those things where you see those connections and those people that you impacted or impacted you throughout the years that still stay in touch. And even you, Sherman, like I hadn't talked to you in a little bit, but just the interest we've gotten around this is proof of how those connections last and how those branches last, to y'all's point.
It's yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say it's all gratitude. I mean, honestly, for us, is just you see the small pond in which we work in every day, right? Everyone thinks it's such a massive industry, but you continually see the same faces. Once you're really hitting, the upper echelons, you're really seeing the hard workers and the same people in the same rooms a
Correct.
lot.
Correct. 100%. And I said I'm from Mississippi, so my granddad said it a little bit different. I'm not gonna say what he said specifically, but and he was a farming guy, whatever, and he said it very succinctly, and I've took it with me my whole life. He said that the face that you smack climbing up is the butt you're gonna kiss coming down. And so I've always, I know it's a little crass, whatever, but I mean, it was a nugget of wisdom that I took with me, and so I just always am careful to, not in the midst of achieving goals, yes, in the midst of trying to hit numbers, yes, all of those things. Like to remember that, at the end of the day, we're in a people business, and you got to make sure that you're building people up and not tearing them down. We're competing. I get it. It's competitive, and I want to win as much as the next person, but I'm not willing to like do anything to win, if that makes sense. I'm not willing to like step on somebody's throat to win, and I don't think it's necessary. I don't. I'm living proof of that, and there's other people I can show that it's not necessary. You don't have to blow your whole family up to be successful. You can stay married. You can whatever it is whatever your core. When you talk about the five career goals, but then the five personal goals, I think it's all kind of interrelated because you got to find out kind of what your values are. So one of my values, as an example, and I say it broadly, even on this podcast. So even if somebody's looking at me for a CEO or whatever they may be looking at me for, I'm not traveling every week. I'm not doing it. It's not going to happen. Am I willing to travel a bit? Yes. But I have a limit to the amount I'm going to travel because that's going to blow my family up, and I'm not going to do that. There's no amount of money that's going to that I'm going to do that for. So that's a non-negotiable for me. And just kind of I know that personally that regardless of what's going on in my career, like that's a non-negotiable for me. Just as an example, and I stand by that. And then maybe and there's some opportunities that it's cost me, but I've gotten other opportunities where okay, you know what, I respect that. We'll figure out how to work around it. But that's why it's important to know your personal goals as well as your career goals and make sure they're aligned.
So we have twins, as you know, and
God bless you.
I have a question because I mean you have a large family.
I
You're the
got six.
biblical
I have six.
you're the biblical
Yeah.
patriarch, right? And
I
so
was
like
fruitful and multiplied. Yes, sir.
so for me it's like, and I might be stealing one of Sarah's questions here is do, how do you think being a good father helps you
Mm,
be a better person in transportation and in your job and your career?
mm. It's all, another one of my adages. I'm giving you all my little adages because I think in terms of like a philosophy that I have about my life. One of them is like I'll give you an example, people over paperwork. That was the philosophy that I have. So that if I'm doing something and somebody comes into my office and they really need help, I'm gonna stop what I'm doing because I'm there for the people. I'm not for the paperwork. But another example is, I'm always working and I'm never working. So like I don't know, 7:30 at night on a Monday night, and my children know, hey, I have something to do, but I'm at home with them, so I'm not traveling every week. I'm not doing those things. So being a father, um, it's initiative to push me to keep working. B, when you have as many children as I have, excuse me, and you've been married as long as I have, 18 years, you can see that they're kids, but they're human beings. And human beings have, I believe, a purpose on this earth. You have an assignment, you have unique talents and gifts, and you have some challenges. There are one of my kids may be better able to pay attention. Another one may be able to zone in. I mean, he zones out all the time. That person may be more creative. What are the, I hate to say positives and negatives, but what are the strengths and what are the weaknesses of each individual child? And that has allowed me to be able to see that in other people that have worked for me, that may be my peers. I'm able to try to put people in the right place, and I'm very honest with where I think they should be, based upon the skill sets that they may have or may not have. So some people hear me out, and they're able to stay at the company. And some people are like, no, like I'll give you an example, just so and I'm a talker, so you kind of got to direct me what you want me to say. But I'm gonna give you two examples. It'll remain nameless, but we don't know what a performance improvement plan is. Where things aren't going well, and if you don't perform by certain whatever, then you may lose employment. One gentleman, he was really technically a really good operator, but he left out of operations to come do sales. And I'm a sales guy through and through. I'm a talker. I'm a marketing guy. Like that's who I am. I don't mean to be strange. I'm the guy you don't sit next to on the plane because I'm gonna know your social security number by the time we done. You know. Um, and I was telling him, I'm like, listen, man, I was coaching him, and I could see he doesn't have a sales personality. I'm like, bro, you're a logistician. You're an ops guy. Like you killed it in ops. You did outstanding work, and I think you should go back over there, brother. And I was like, I'm about to put you on the pip, and he was like, well, I ain't never ran from a pip. I'm like, bro, it's not about like I appreciate the tenacity, and I appreciate to get up and go, and like I'm gonna prove you wrong. And there's a time for that, but that's not right now. Like I'm telling you, like trust me, brother. Like you're supposed to be doing ops, and I'll give you a good referral. I will give you a good referral to go back to ops. Like you're a good guy, you're a hard worker. I know you're doing the work. It's that's not who you are, and that's okay. He ended up having to let him go. I told another gentleman the same thing that he was in sales, but it was just some things that I saw weren't going to work out, and I was like, listen, man. I told him it's kind of the same. It was a different story, but the same situation where, hey, you got a pip or whatever. You got a good work ethic. This just isn't the right role for you in this company. I think you should look at this. You can use me as a reference. I'm gonna hook you up. He heard me left and got a 20% raise where he went, and he's still there to this day.
Yeah, don't bring
So
a
that's an
sledgehammer to do something a screwdriver could do, right? It's
yeah,
like you got to
yeah,
be the
yeah.
tool, you got to use the gifts that God gave you and be the best of your ability, right?
Yeah, and so I only bring that up to talk about again. to frame out my thinking in terms of how being a father has helped me lead well, I can see what people are good at, what they may struggle with. I can see if it's something that coaching can help with, or I can see if it's something like, dude, like as an example with me, again, this may shoot me in the foot one day. I've run P&Ls and things, but dude, like I'm not an ops guy. I'm a sales and marketing guy. Like I love doing that. That's fun. So I know how to read a P&L? Absolutely. Do I know how to do all of those things? Absolutely. But if you make me try to make me the CFO of the company, I'm gonna want to vomit. I'm gonna be bored out of my mind. It's just it doesn't make sense for me, you know. So it's not because I'm a bad person. It's not because I'm an idiot. It's just I believe everyone has certain giftings, certain areas of interest, certain areas where they have a gifting, and those things are going to be invigorating. It's going to make you work hard. You're going to get good results, which is going to be kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy for you, and you're going to go be successful. But if you put me as a CFO or a CPA, anything like that, even if I don't have my CPA, but even if you did, sitting down monotonous, the numbers and the crunching, it's like above the head mustard stuff for me, man. I'm just, it's going to be too much. And so I wouldn't do that role well. I know that about myself. I'm honest about myself, and I don't apply for roles like that. And so being a father has helped me be able to, again, man, just realize what human potential is and identify what people are good at and what they may not be good at and trying to help navigate them to where they should go.
Yeah, it's like as Sarah said, I'm a relationship guy. Sarah is very much so a fixer. Like she likes to go see a puzzle and a problem, and she's there to go fix it. And she's
Yeah,
gonna
Brent,
t
you were a hot mess when I met you. She fixed you. She
Yeah,
fixed
exactly.
you.
I'll agree with that. I'll agree with that. I'll agree with that. She's definitely a
He broke
fixer.
me he broke me out of my shell though too. I mean,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
when
yeah.
I started in the industry, I was a huge introvert, but I knew I wanted to be a leader and had to figure
Mm,
out what my lane was, to your point,
yep,
right? I
yep.
started out my career in sales. And it's
Mm,
funny, about 11 years later, I feel like to your point, I know Sherman, you don't like this role, but I feel like as a P&L owner, I have figured it out. I had and really it's to Brent's point, I have figured out that it's like, okay, I look from 12 different angles at once, and how can I adjust things?
yep,
And how
yep.
can I make us more efficient? How can I make this person a little bit faster at order entry? How can I make this coverage person create more relationships? Like, what can we do with these moving pieces? And I think to your point too, Sherman, I think you kind of made a point about this of you have the supportive people around you. I know I had leaders who helped me see that in myself. And
Yep,
sometimes to your point, I didn't listen. Like
yep.
there are people at Schneider who listen to this be like, yeah, I banged my head against the wall with Sarah because she didn't listen for a while. I totally admit that, right?
Hmm.
But after a while, I figured out, okay, this is what I'm really good at. And I think it
Hmm.
takes leaders who can be patient with you, but also who can give you those opportunities to see how you would do in that role. And yes, your primary job is X, but how can you get exposure with an initiative or with another team or shadowing or
Yep.
something of that nature to figure out, oh, maybe I'm actually really good at this. So I think that's been really eye-opening for me with the experiences I've had throughout my professional career.
It's cool, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. And you all make a good team.
I appreciate that. We are it's a day-to-day progress. You know that, Sherman. I mean,
Oh yeah.
with a family and with marriage, I think with our girls, it's really one thing me and him have really adjusted with is one time management of, hey,
Hmm.
we're both trying to continue to progress our careers, especially in the
Yep.
leadership role. So how do
Yep.
we do that in the same
Yep.
industry? So that can be really challenging, but I think we're definitely day by day figuring it out, and continuing to learn. So
You got to give your partner the biggest break. Like if you think about all the people like you come in contact with every day, the person that you need to give the biggest break to is your wife, right?
Mm.
And I think it's like you give so much grace to everyone else. Is like the person you should give the most grace to is your wife,
So
right?
good. Yep.
I
So
think
good.
that's the and I think at the same time, like all your mentors and all everything, like you give them gratitude, but how do you give gratitude back to your wife as well, right?
Yep.
All the small
Yep.
thank yous and things that we do for each other. So,
Yep,
Happy
yep.
wife,
I
happy life,
100%.
right, Brent?
Yeah, I mean that's
Yep.
it's a good phrase. It's a good turn of phrase.
Yeah, it is. It is. It is true. It is true.
For sure. So, I think one big topic in our industry right now is around the non-domiciled CDLs, the enforcement, what looking into the crystal ball and how is that going to affect the industry overall. So, wanted to get your take, Sherman, on how what you think is going to happen in the next 6 to 12 months and how you think it's going to affect the industry.
So I'll be honest with you. I don't know. And I'll explain why. I have, like you two, a ton of relationships, not just at Schneider, but just a lot of different companies, and I'm really good at staying in touch with people. Um, some of my, you know, mentors that I know have sold their companies for hundreds of millions of dollars, transportation companies. Um, I keep them, apprised of what's going on in the market. Even they've never seen it last, the freight recession last this long, ever, like ever. So it's the breadth and the depth of the downturn. I do think that there's been a big issue. It's so with the non-domicile piece and the illegal immigration piece. Um, we call it riding dirty. I heard situations where it's companies where your ELD, you can pull over and then 10 minutes later they give you the full set of hours, like you got fresh hours. I was like, when I heard those tactics, I was like, that's why rates have been so low for so long. Because when you're running your trucking company above board, um, doing the hours of service, with the proper insurance, with the proper CDL licenses and all of those things, your operating costs are higher than if you're riding dirty, if that makes sense. So it made complete sense to me. So I am happy to see they're going to be clearing out different people that may not be riding legally. I think it's long overdue. I think that's a part of the reason why we've had these challenges. Um, Now, volume, I have a concern about a broader like economic downturn. You have kids, I have kids. I do the grocery shopping in the family. Um, and none of the prices are not dropping precipitously as much as we would have thought. And so I think people are getting laid off. People are shopping less.
Mhm.
If you look at the statistics, you can kind of see it. So freight's already been in a recession for the past 3 years easily. I'm concerned that the market's going to turn over, and I don't know if the amount of drivers leaving, even if the government does clamp down, which it is going to be enough to compensate for um, a downward trend in consumer purchasing.
You
Um,
can you can really see the government. They're really trying to add a
they're going
lot
for
more
it.
oversight over it. I mean, you look at the leaked documents of now looking at chameleon carriers as well. Those guys that'll really just exit and then come right back.
It's been a mess. It's
You
been a
know,
mess, man. It's been a real mess. And anybody watching this post, I'm sure, this podcast, excuse me, has dealt with theft. I mean, it's getting ridiculous, man. They're hacking in to the, online on a government website and changing the phone number of the carrier, changing the emails and whatnot, and then impersonating a carrier. And so I think I gave it to between two tittles, and I gave it to between two riddles. I don't even know who it's with somebody else, and it's gone. I don't even know where it is. I don't know what happened. And then unfortunately, as much as we all love law enforcement, I get it. I'm more worried about a stabbing down the corner at a bar fight than I am about a stolen load of, recycled copper that disappeared in California.
it's not
Uh,
physical theft anymore. They're not taking the doors off the back of the trailer and doing that jazz or, a truck getting stolen, which that those thefts do happen, but it's much more cyber. It's
it
AI
is.
related, and a
Yeah,
lot
it
of these
is.
brokerages now are getting hounded by fraudulent AI calls, right? And so
Yeah,
unless you have the
yeah.
technology to screen those out, you most likely have a 22-year-old, 23-year-old answering the phone making decisions at their desk that impact large companies, right? And so you have to
100%.
have safeguards to make sure that they can make the accurate decision and relay that information in a timely manner as well. Because you think about everything we do every day, it's not like it's widgets or it's something that's completely safe. I mean, there's 80,000 pounds rolling down the road. I mean, speaking of non-domiciled CDL drivers, that driver that took a U-turn and killed, three
Yeah.
people, you really have to be careful now. And I think that's what a lot of companies are doing now is they're getting out in front and training as much as they can to spot some of these fake email addresses and these phishing schemes,
Yep.
and then also some of these fake AI agents that are calling in as well. Um,
Yep. Yep.
we're just
It's long
inundated.
overdue. It's long overdue, man. I think now it's pretty evident that it was a lot of, shenanigans going around, people riding dirty, and we can't have it, man. Not only is it not safe, which is the most important thing, because a family lost their life, which could have been our family, your family, my family, right? It's tragic. Not only is it not safe, it's not fair to trucking companies that are trying to adhere to the law and run legally at those higher price points and having to move freight at a loss that's not even covering the operating costs. Like that's not fair. And so I've been excited to see um, um, the administration taking more of a stance on that. But again, depending on how many drivers that is, I hear different numbers. I don't know how many drivers or trucking companies that is, but would that, I mean, let's say it's 200,000 or 300,000. Is that going to be enough to, you know, move the rates if consumer spending is going down? I don't know. So I'm honest enough to say I don't know.
At these inspection points, they're still being put out of service for the normal things more often than non-CDL, and that's brakes, tires, etc.,
Yep,
right? And that's more things that are putting people out of service still. Um,
correct.
but as far as the market's concerned, I feel like we've been in a place where it's been 6 more months for the last 3 years. 6 more months, it'll be there. I
Yeah,
think this
that's what you
last
say
Q,
when you don't know.
yeah, I think
I
this
just say I
last,
don't know.
yeah, this last Q3, I think this is the first time when I articulated, I think it's going to be a full year. I really do think it's all of Q3 26 when we actually begin seeing a turn in the market. Now, that's not to say there could be a black swan event that happens prior. I think there's going to be a lot of brokerages that begin consolidating. I think also the agent model is really starting to get a lot of appeal. I mean, there's a lot of people, becoming agents for a lot of these larger companies, and I truly think that's a pathway to freedom as well. Because you look at some of these splits that some of these guys are getting, and it's so enticing if you can really own your business and walk the walk. Like
Yep,
how would you not join one of those and really begin and kind of for I think it's Brent Orsuga that says eat what you kill, right? And so
yeah,
like
yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's what you really want to do, right? Um, but my family comes from the bankruptcy world. My dad led bankruptcy practices for a long time. My brother has his own bankruptcy practice and he practices on the law side. And he says he has too many cases to work himself. And so when you
Really?
think about where the
Wow.
market is, and I think we'll really get a true sign if we really see some strong retail consumer spending. Me and my wife did our part at Walmart today, buying gifts for the girls, but looking around, people didn't have a lot of toys or anything else and electronics in their cart. They had food,
Yeah, people are
right?
struggling, man. Even with Target, Target's down and Walmart's growing because they said households that are making above 100,000, they're moving from Target to Walmart to cut costs, man. So, but regardless of when, one of the ways that I've survived is by regardless of, I grew up listening to, not grew up listening to, but one of my favorite motivational speakers is called Jim Rohn, and he talks about the set of the sail. It's not about the weather. Um, it's the set of the sail on your boat that determines success. And so I just focus on, people are still moving freight. I need to find who they are. So and also where's the money? So right now, what are some things that you can do to get to where money's going? So where money's going, as we know, data centers. But what are the things around that, like the racking for the data centers, the cooling systems for the data centers. You know, what does it take to build a data center? That's the beauty of AI, open AI, or I heard Gemini now, which is the Google one, has surpassed ChatGPT recently. I think it's an arms race where one of them's better than the other one, and then they come up with an upgrade, and then it flips. But you know, I would advise everyone to use those tools and see, you know, what types of materials, or hey, I'm in the transportation business. You can literally ask it like you would a person, like what, I'm in the transportation business and I'm interested in getting involved in, you know, shipping for data centers. What are some of the components that are used to make it? You know, what are some suggestions? It'll do that. It's a really good thinking tool that I've been trying to use, but that's where I'm trying to grow right there. I do a lot of flatbed, heavy haul, and over dimensional because of that. Like a lot of project based freight is how I would say I've been able to survive and thrive through that environment. It's always something moving, but you know, things like lumber, I'm not touching it. You know, it's no money in it for me. So I just kind of know where to play. I know where not to play, and there are always customers moving freight. Some and always some that have a fair rate. You just have to, you know, be creative, be innovative, um, and out hustle the competition, man. Outthink them, you know, whatever that may be. But there's always freight moving. So that's how I've been able to survive and thrive during this time. You know, not growing as much as I would want to. Clearly, you know, I don't know that any of us are, but those data centers, it's a bunch of money being poured into that. And so definitely would advise people that's looking to get into that space. And there's other spaces that are growing too. Like, what are things that the administration wants to happen in the U.S.? Like they want to develop, you know, manufacturing in the U.S. So look at nearshoring and whatnot, like, you know, Laredo border, cross border, different things. Like, what are things that they're trying to do? And that's where the money's going. And so that's where the investments are going. So that's where you need to be looking and try how do you get involved in that from a freight perspective.
You got to find your value. You got to find your niche. And
Hmm.
especially when you're thinking about the brokerage side or even, asset-based carriers is you have a specific region, you have a specific need to fill. How can you find that match? And it's not just, hey, I'm going to slaughter rates against our RFP. It's, hey, here's what I'm good at. Here's the vertical I'm going to go after. And here is how I can voice my expertise, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
I've been telling my team, and this is Sarah Tittle's opinion, you know, we have seen a lot of regulation throughout the years of capacity is going to exit the market. But the true bumps in the market where you have seen a capacity crunch is when demand spikes for one
Hmm.
reason or another. It's going to
Hmm.
be demand. There
Yep.
is not going to be enough capacity that exits the market for you to go and see rates just suddenly spike. Yes, is it good to your point that we are getting some bad actors out of the market that were not operating legally, let's say, right? But at the same time, is that going to affect the market? It's not going to affect the market until demand changes holistically. And
I
so in the
agree.
meantime, we've been talking about, hey, how do you go take it? To your point, somebody's moving it.
Yep.
How do you go take it? So
Correct.
that's really been a huge topic on our team as of late because everybody's talking about, well, will this be the thing? Will this be the thing that finally turns the market? You can't wait on it.
No.
You
No.
It,
cannot wait on it.
so for me, from the shipper angle, kind of the past few years, kind of seeing kind of how that operates, it's truly not just price. I mean, more often than not, you're going more than I don't know if I need to should give an actual number, but a lot of the time you're going with your incumbents. Like you're not going to go and pick a new entrant to give a bunch of freight to, right? Especially in this
Right.
market, who can you trust? Like really incumbency is so important, but that's also why I don't think you can just close an account and hand it off to someone. Like you got to walk the floors, right? You got to go and be there with that person. You've got to make sure that they know how important it is because you can't just close something and hand it off now and trust it goes okay because incumbency only lasts as good as you actually service that customer, right? And so
Yep.
the hardest part was done. Now you've got them through the door. They've purchased. Now like how do you play defense and keep that, right? And I
Yep.
think that that's the worst thing is when before you put a ring on her, everyone else was calling, right? And so like
Yep.
you
Yep.
made that commitment, now you really got to go through with it. And I think that's the biggest thing is One shipper once showed me his voicemail, and it's a buddy that actually now transitions to he's a director of transportation for a company, and he gets one every 3 minutes, right?
That's
And
insane.
once a day he'll pick one, listen to it, and decide whether he'll give him a shot or not. And
I'm
so
How
it's
do you
telling you,
it's
continue to show value too?
yeah,
Even
yeah,
after you get them in the door, it's, those voicemails every 3 minutes. Okay, what's going to make them not pick up the phone? What do they value? And checking in with them and keeping your ear to the ground from the warehouse workers to the coordinators to the directors to the VPs of supply chain. How do you continue to show value throughout the chain so you're sticky? So they
yeah,
won't pick up the phones. They won't listen to those voicemails.
yeah. And in continuation of Brent's analogy of you put a ring on it, once you put a ring on it, you need to continue to date your wife. So you need to
yep.
continue to date the customer. Go out to eat, understand that, what are the concerns they may be having? How is the sir? How are we doing? Are you growing in your business? Are you shrinking in the business? What are some things we can do to help that? Hey, I got a customer that you should meet. I know you do this. Can you help them get a sale? Like what are some things that you can do to add additional value? So just that's what I mean by getting creative. Your job is to shift the freight, keep costs low, keep everything efficient. But I also want to understand what the customer's business is because I'm a sales guy. I can find them an opportunity. Maybe it turns into an opportunity for them, a business customer. Maybe it doesn't, but they know I'm out here thinking about what I can do to add value to their business, almost like I'm one of their employees. So to your point, Sarah, like that's extremely powerful. Always be looking for additional ways to add value. And what do we mean by add value? How do you make them more money? How do you save them more money or save them time? Which
How do you make them
is
look
the
good to
same
their
difference.
boss?
How do you make them look good to their boss? Correct.
I'm
Correct.
gonna steal something from Sarah. She didn't say it, but I'm gonna say it before she did. Is like tell them something about their business that they don't know. Right.
Yeah.
That's usually what Sarah was gonna say. So I'm sorry I
Dang it.
stole that from
Yeah,
you,
you
Sarah.
got me.
Yep.
That was really impactful early in my career. And I was a senior sales representative at the time, but I had a
Yep.
leader, back to my point earlier of your leader setting you up and putting you in those situations to learn. They let me listen in on a call with one of our top 5 customers in that center at the time. And that customer was like, hey, this is all great. I know you're servicing our freight well. We know you pretty competitive on rate, but tell me about something in my business I don't know. And
Mm.
it made me look at things a lot differently. I think even education outside of the industry makes you think about things differently. You talk to shippers, and even, I went back to school and wasn't sure what angle I was going to take it, but it really supply chain analytics made me think of a different angle from the shipper. And so it's how can you think about it from different angles is
Yep.
another way to look at it.
That's
Well,
good. That's good.
thinking about the community. So you're involved in a lot of things outside of trucking, as well as your career. Like I think it's the Rotary Club and
Hmm.
other things. Can you speak about how that helps you impact the community and how that actually helps you get a sense of fulfillment as well, like what that's like for you?
Yeah. 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 So I am really big on being a good whole person. So I'm involved in my church. A member of the Rotary Club involved there. So that's all of those things are giving back. Um, I give back to employees and people I mentor as well, but directly, as an example, me, my wife, and children, a couple of times a year, we just did it 3 weeks ago, where we were making meals for kids overseas. So you're putting rice and in a pack. I don't know if you've done it before. You go to this place and they're playing all this music, and it's 10 different teams with
Like an
kids and
assembly
adults,
line.
an
Like
assembly line, and you're putting together these meal packets that are gonna go. And so, we'll package up, 5,000, 10,000 meals or whatever in an hour's time, 2 hours time. So doing things like that to me are really important. Why is it keeps me grounded. It lets me know that I'm blessed. One of the things I do see with people is that we don't realize when we're already winning. Even though we may not
Amen.
be where we want to be, and we have a vision to get further, you also need to turn around and be thankful for how far you've come because you didn't get there alone. Call and thank some of the people that helped you get there. Just out of the blue, like, hey man, I just really want to thank you. You had such an impact on my life. Like, if I never do anything for you, looking back, but don't be so focused on the future that you're neglecting um, that you're already winning. Because that's one thing that I see. Like, we don't always understand. If we look at it by how far we've come, then we'll see appreciation. But if you're looking at where you are and how far you have to go, it doesn't help you think the best, in my opinion. You kind of got to look at the whole picture. And looking back at the whole picture, like I'm already a success. You guys are already a success. You understand? So that's important to me with the civic work. Is just it keeps me grounded. So I'll tell you a story I watched again. Things I think in terms of stories and whatever. But I was watching there's an old school rapper named LL Cool J. And they were talking to him in an interview, and they said, "What's something that you do to stay grounded?" And he told a story that he went back. He's a big movie star at the time. He got the TV show CSI or whatever, and he was rapping and all this stuff. And everybody knows him, and they're just adoring him. Fans, he can't go anywhere. Everybody liked him. And he said, "What keeps me grounded is that you know I I go to my grandma's house and I sit down, I talk to her, and we're talking, and I'm like, okay, grandma, I'm getting ready to leave, and she like, hey, Lawrence or whatever his name was, the real name. Hey, take that trash out for me before you leave." And he's like, okay, grandma. And he takes it out. He said, that's what kind of keeps me grounded. It reminds me, like, with all the glitz and the glamour and everybody think you big time or whatever, like, I'm still somebody's son. I'm still somebody's grandson. And I'm not better than other people. Like, so he said going to being around his family kind of helps keep him grounded because he had to, his grandma said, yeah, take the trash out for me. And he did it. And I felt that too, not just going home, but people that you grew up around, it's like, hey, Sherman, can you do this? And my first gut reaction in my mind is like, what? But then I'm sitting here thinking like, yeah, to them, I'm just regular old Sherman that grew up around the block. So, okay, yes, ma'am, I'll take the water out the back of the car, for the barbecue. Yes, ma'am.
I I think it's something in your soul that pulls you to do service and action like that, right? And so like
Uh-huh.
seeing someone struggling to put something in the back seat of their car and then
Yeah.
and getting that gut feeling, then acting on it, right? And I think
Yeah.
those things that also make you more human, right? And I think to be honest, I think we're in such a relationship driven business. People have that sixth sense that they can tell whether you're a good human and you give back, right? And it's
Hmm.
not something that they can read on a resume or hear through, our podcast, right? It's something that people get when they talk to you, right? They get it,
Yep.
they understand it, and they can hear it in your voice. And
Yep.
that's
Yep.
that's something in our first interaction when I met you, I knew from then it's like you have a higher calling, and I've always wanted just how close can I get to that, right? How close can I
Yep.
feel like that? And you've always been a true inspiration for me there. So I just
And
wanted to
I've
tell you
seen
that.
you all develop that same, capacity and do the same. So it's just even with this podcast, I'm really excited, and I was just very. It's just such an honor for you all to. It's a million. You all know a million people, and you could have called a lot of other people. And the fact that you called me, I was surprised and just I blushed.
No, no,
Well, and
go ahead, sir.
I think it's always about a balance too. My husband and my team, anybody who's worked with me knows that I'm a very self-critical person. And so I think obviously we have to keep our minds on that, which I think is really important. But I think the other piece is know how far you've come to.
Mm,
I know I've matured. There are a lot of things early on in my career I thought were molehills. Like, oh, this is
mm,
such a big deal
yep.
right now. Like, I need to get this sale, or this load didn't pick up, or oh my gosh, I remember somebody on one of our teams said, Sarah, we're not shipping hearts. And that just sticks in my head. Like, anytime I think something big's happening, like, Sarah, you're not shipping hearts. It's
Yeah, that's
okay.
hilarious.
And so I think we have to remember who got us there, and continue
Hmm.
to give back. But I think we also got to give ourselves grace, and also sometimes a pat on the back, which
Yep.
I know, and some of my team's gonna listen and they're like, Sarah, that's funny you're saying that. Because I'm just so competitive. Sometimes we have that motor, and
I
sometimes
get
we
it.
forget to to self-reflect too in that
Yeah,
angle,
yep, yep, yep. I get
especially
it.
as
Yep.
leaders. You're
Yeah, yeah,
always looking at other
100%.
people. How can I help you? But then sometimes you forget to look at yourself just as much and realize how far you've come as well.
And typically, yeah, typically people like us, which I'd say are leaders or people that drive change, nobody's ever going to be as critical on you as you're going to be on yourself. Yeah, nobody's ever going to be as critical as you are yourself. It's just not possible, because we have standards, which means you care. We care deeply. So, and that's a leadership trait. A lot of people don't have it. I get it. Some people are like take it or leave it. I'll be all right or whatever. And it's stuff that I'm like, what are you kidding me, dude? Like, we have a sense of urgency, and it's just another way of saying that we care. And then when we say we're going to do something, we do our best to try to accomplish that thing. But yeah, a boss. I never met a boss as tough as I am on my as the boss that sits on my shoulder, chirping in my ear. Asking have I given my best.
I just always think of Remember the Titans when he goes, attitude reflect leadership, right? And it's like it's so true though, right? And it's like if you're not in the trenches learning about every single person, because like your point is everybody's different,
Hmm.
you're missing, right? And I think that's one thing where I've been blessed to have really good boss. I've had great bosses. I think they've all put me in the position to where I am today.
Hmm.
And so, I think that's why I know I've said it a lot, and I think it's Thanksgiving Thursday, but that's why it's just in my head is that, how can you always show gratitude and give back, right?
Yep.
And so, and like using your tools the best way possible to give back to this market, which is the specific transportation sector is it's such a small ecosystem, and like
It is.
how do we bring up the people that are coming into it now to help replace us, right? And I think that's always like, how do you find that, person who's going to replace you and bring them up? Um,
Yep. Yeah, it's powerful. It's powerful, man.
And I know it's actually a really good segue into kind of the next question I had of we're thinking about the next one up. We're thinking about the new entrants into the industry, the next ones at the desk that we're going to have on our team, Sherman, especially during a really interesting time in the logistics industry, in this environment. What advice would you give to somebody who's new coming into the logistics industry and being at the desk and having their first day? What would be your advice to them?
Ask a ton of questions. There are no dumb questions. Ask a ton of questions. Number two, I would take notes. Um, I take notes. You can take them however you want to. I take copious notes. Like I write stuff down, diagrams. It's the way I think. So I think everybody should take notes. But just understand the way you learn. Are you a visual learner? I'm a visual learner. I have to kind of do it to learn, but then I need to write notes down so I can kind of go back and do it. So understand the way you learn. Uh, don't take stuff personal.
Hmm.
When you're in the throes of things and loads are moving, and it's don't hold your heart in your hand and say here, be careful with it. Like um, don't take it personal. Um,
I can echo that one. That one took me a while to learn,
it took me a
you know.
while to learn to not take it personal. That they're it's like your kids or whatever. And if I'm busy, doing something that's very serious, and my child comes up to me with something like, "Hey, Dad, let me show you this flip." It's like, son, right now I don't want to burn. I'll just use an example: frying chicken. Hey, frying some tilapia or something. Like, hey, man, get away from that child may take that personal. I love them to death, and it's not that I don't want to see it. I want to see it later, sweetie, but I just don't want you to get burned by this tilapia I'm cooking. So
Yeah.
kind of that.
Yeah.
But the perception of that child is, oh, maybe dad rejected me or whatever. So that's a really big one. Don't take it personal. Another thing I would do that I did, you don't have to do that. I don't want to date myself. Read transportation topics. It's free online. You don't even have to buy the darn magazines. DC Velocity. Follow people on LinkedIn that are experts in the field and just listen. It's gonna sound like, for people that are non-Spanish speaking or whatever. it's not gonna make sense. But the more I remember when I started listening to CNBC because I wanted to learn about investing, it sounded like gibberish. I didn't know what they were talking about. But over time, as you learn it and you can look it up words or whatever, you'll be learning more and more just kind of through osmosis and being around. So engulf yourself in that language. You can listen to podcasts about transportation like this one. There's several other ones. Um, those are some of the top things, that come to mind. And don't quit too soon. Um, I've seen some people, and myself included, where there was pressure in the beginning when I first started at CH Robinson. Do I have what it takes? And I was kind of stressed out, and I'm not sure if this will work. You don't know if you're good at it if you just 3 months in, 6 months in, you bounce out. So give it some time. Give it a year or two before you can determine. Now, some people will come in and you're not a salesperson and it's pretty obvious. I'm not talking to that person, but I'm talking to that person where you having some wins, you're a people person, you think you'll be good at it, but it's just not there quite yet, and you're stressed out and you're not sure. Give it a year or two before you take the dog out the pasture and say logistics isn't for me. Give it some time, because once you get to a certain point, the game starts to slow down, and it starts to make sense, and that's when you'll be able to tell your full capability or not. But before that, you don't really know what you can do. It's like learning, like I mentioned on CNBC. I don't even understand the language, so I can't even think about the concepts because I'm just learning the lingo. I can't make it. So if I watched it for 2 weeks and I'm like, man, forget it. I don't even know what they're talking about. I would have missed, I would have missed out on the opportunity to learn it, if that makes sense. So those are some of the top things that come to my mind when talking to a fresh person that's new, this their first week.
And I totally agree. And I think one thing I would just add to that is find a good mentor who will give you feedback, whether
Yep.
that's your leader or a senior associate, like senior sales rep with somebody. When I first started out, it's like, hey, can I listen in on some of your calls? Can you listen in on some of mine? What would you do here? And give me some honest feedback. And just
Yep.
be ready for constructive feedback too. Like to your point, don't take it personal. It's
Yeah.
like they've seen what works, take that feedback and try to apply it and figure out your style. I think to your point, a year or two, you really figure out whether you're in sales operations, you figure out what style works for you. And
Right.
you see what succeeds and you see other examples. And so I think kind of it pairs with giving it time.
Yep. Yep. And I would say too, a thing I learned, speaking of mentorship, um, people that are your age and young and go-getters, they may not share as much information. It's better to go with people that you don't pose a threat to. So she said senior. So sometimes I went with even when I was climbing up the corporate ladder, people that are close to retirement or whatever, people that are old, like they've been there 20 years. You fresh out of college, you pose no threat. Like that person's a VP, senior VP, or they could be a senior sales rep for the past 20 years. They've seen what works, they've seen what doesn't work. You pose no threat to that person. So you'll learn something from the top sales rep that's your age or whatever, but that person's competitive. They will tell you a little bit of stuff, but they may not give you the secret sauce. But somebody older, sometimes you'll get a more honest answer from that person. So I would put that tidbit there too.
I
You can
got
learn
two
from
cents.
both,
I've got two
but
cents to add. One is your best ability is availability, right? I
yeah,
think like
Mhm.
especially when you're younger, like jump in. It's like everyone's got the same, everyone's got a light bulb above their head.
yeah,
But it all goes off at different times, right?
yeah,
You've got your own clock. And
yeah,
so as long as you're working towards your own clock, the faster that light bulb will go off. Don't worry about what other people are doing because you don't
yeah.
know whether what the light bulb is.
Correct.
And I think the other thing is how can you get involved within an organization that's exterior to your company, right? So like maybe a
Yeah,
local transportation club or a Rotary club, somewhere
yeah.
where you can go find someone who is open to mentorship and may not even be in the same line of business, but can help round you out as a professional. I think those two things really hit home and can really drive home your growth in really quick fashion.
100%. Yeah, join the traffic club at DFW, for sure. Like this is Brent's doing some great stuff. We got to do that plug, man. It's a great organization. You're doing great things over there, man.
Awesome. Before we conclude our time together, we're not just about freight, we're about fun here at Between Two Tittles. So, to end our time together, wanted to do a couple of fun questions
Okay.
that we didn't necessarily prep you for.
No, that's
Um,
fine. That's fine.
so Thanksgiving's coming up. So what is your favorite dish? The one where you go to a gathering, it's like, I'm looking for this to put on my plate every time.
I learned how to make, so I'm from Mississippi. I learned how to make cornbread dressing. Um,
Ooh.
Ooh.
we don't do stovetop stuffing in the South. At least I don't. So I can't say that. That sounds bad. I like cornbread dressing. So I'm looking for cornbread dressing. On the dessert side, I never saw a pound cake I didn't like.
Mm.
And pie, I like pecan pie.
Ooh, those are some solid choices.
And I
I
like
love
cabbage too.
sweets.
I like cabbage. I like
Ooh,
cabbage. I like cabbage too.
nice. Yeah, chocolate pie. I'll go from the other way around. Dessert. So chocolate pie. Anything that has
Hmm.
chocolate on it, you got me. Um, I would say I'm between dressing and just rolls. I know, very
I get
simple.
it. Yep. No, I
Especially
get it though. Yep.
got those simple Hawaiian rolls, like goes a
Yeah.
long
Oh
way,
yeah. Oh yeah. Hawaiian rolls. Yeah. Yeah. Hawaiian rolls come in the house, the 24 pack or 18 pack, and they last 5 minutes. My kids kill those things, man. So I had to buy like 2 or 3 packs of them.
Oh, and mac and cheese is good too. Like the
Yeah,
thing
I
they'll
was
have
gonna
like
say
their
that.
version of mac and cheese. You said
Yeah,
dressing,
I
so I
was
was like,
gonna
oh, I
say
gotta
that.
think of something different.
Yeah,
See,
mac and
and
cheese.
see,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
there's something about mac and cheese where it's like it's one of those rare entrees where and sides where if you heat it up, it's actually better than it was the first time.
Correct.
And
Correct.
so it's
Hmm.
one of those ones that comes back from after the dinner, and you're like, all right, I want more of that. Me,
Yep. Yep.
my sister makes this big thing of corn casserole every year, and I
Ah.
always reach for it. It's got a cornbread
Hmm.
top to it.
It's
It's got
good.
Oh. Oh.
corn. It is amazing. So that's mine. Um, and my taste buds have changed over the years so much. My mom makes a homemade coconut cream pie with
Oh.
meringue top,
Oh man.
and
Oh man.
it's the reason why I'm as big as I am probably because I love that pie. It's amazing. But those are my two reach fors every time.
No. Okay. Okay.
I
No,
can
that's
never
good. It's
guess
good
the
food.
flavor he wants. Like he changes every year. Like I think
I
one
know.
year it was pumpkin, one year he made apple pie. Like he was on a pie streak one year and he made a bunch of pies. Like I think he made 5 pies
That was
or
before I lost
between.
all this weight, granted, right? And so Sherman, you as well. I mean,
Yeah, I lost weight. I lost
you've
weight.
lost a lot of
It's
weight.
a journey. It's a journey. But this week is kind of gonna be a. We're gonna.
This week's gonna be tough.
We went to
Yeah.
Lifetime
This
this
week.
morning and spent an hour just to make sure, and I'll be going there tomorrow morning too and sweating
Yeah,
it out.
I'm gonna try to do my thing, but I'm gonna eat something this week, bro. I'm gonna eat
Yeah,
something this week.
that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. January is just around the
You got
corner
to
for
treat
those new
yourself a little
goals.
bit. Yeah, I'm gonna
Just a
stretch
Yeah.
out a
little
little
bit.
bit. So yeah, yeah.
Well, and here's the more controversial one, in my
Okay.
opinion. Question. Okay. Brent probably gave away our answer with what's in the background here. But do you set up for Christmas prior to Thanksgiving, or do you have to wait till after?
My wife does that, and we wait till after.
Okay.
She's very particular about it's my birthday.
Each
We're gonna do
holiday
it on the
has.
birthday.
Yep.
Yeah, if you're gonna do that, it's got to be that. So we still got pumpkins out front and turkey and stuff like. Nah, she's not pivoting. Now, if it were up to me, I actually like. And if you think about it, I don't know if you all listen to the radio. I don't often listen to the radio, but it's playing Christmas already. It's been playing Christmas for the past two, three
Well, that's one
weeks.
of our favorite stations.
So
Is it 1021, Brent?
yeah,
Yeah,
That
it's
it's already
does
102 right
playing
that?
it.
now.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it
one of
kicks
our
in
favorite
like
stations in both of our cars.
yeah, it's like November, and I'm like, dang, and I kind of like that. So I like the Christmas going already.
A little
But my
early.
wife, I've been forbidden. Yeah, so
And then
but
my
after
last
Thursday,
question.
she'll pivot it.
So, is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Oh,
I think so, man.
Yeah.
Because
Oh, there we go.
it was. Yeah, I
I'm
think so.
outnumbered.
Yeah, I think so, man. It's non-traditional Christmas. I get it, but because I think of it as that. Yeah,
Yippee-ki-yay. I'm excited. There
it
we
comes on
go.
around Christmas. It was Christmas themed. Like, yeah, man, I think so.
So he knows that I'm in the boat of I don't believe it's a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
And so, funny story, part of my family does an ornament exchange. He purposefully bought a Die Hard ornament just to figure out a way to put
Nakatomi
it in the
Plaza.
white elephant and get it for himself to put on one of our trees, and he hides it every year, so I can't find it.
You got to
That is
play to win.
hilarious.
Play to win.
That is
I'll hide it on
hilarious.
the tree
Nicely
this
done.
year. It
Hey,
goes
that's
up
hey,
very tall. It goes up
that
very
my
tall on the
friend.
tree.
There's
That my
schools.
friend is logistics.
I'll find a way. If I know where it is, I'll find a way.
That
Well,
is
Sherman,
logistics.
this has been a great first podcast. We appreciate you joining. Honestly, you are a perfect guest to launch this off, and thank you again. We couldn't show more gratitude to you. I definitely owe you a lunch.
No, all good, man. Appreciate all you all are doing. I'm excited for you. Congratulations, and keep it going, man. Keep it going. And I'd love to come back anytime. Just say the word.
Awesome. Well, thanks
All right.
again.
Thanks, Sherman.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.